Welcome to Lecture 12, Understanding High-Tech Customers. Today's topic is a crucial part of understanding how marketing strategy intersects with innovation and customer behavior, especially in fast-paced industries where technology evolves rapidly. High-tech customers are not the same as traditional customers. They're often more informed, more skeptical, and more risk-sensitive. They rely on peer validation, expert reviews, and performance proof before adopting new solutions. In this session, we'll explore their behaviors, thought processes, and what it takes to move a product from new idea to market leader. This lecture will guide you through two major areas. First, the customer decision-making process in technology purchases, and second, the adoption and diffusion of innovations, including one of the most famous concepts in marketing high-tech products, crossing the chasm. We'll also touch on the tornado and Main Street phases in tech market evolution. So let's dive into what makes high-tech customers tick and how businesses can respond intelligently to win them over. Let's begin with a fundamental behavioral model that applies to any customer but plays out quite differently in tech markets. The 5 stages are problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, purchase decision, and post-purchase evaluation. In high-tech context, problem recognition often arises not from discomfort or dissatisfaction, but from external pressures like industry upgrades, digital transformation mandates, or falling behind competitors. Once customers identify the problem, they begin the information search. But this isn't limited to a quick Google search. Tech customers read white papers, consult specialists, check online forums, and attend webinars. In the evaluation phase, things get technical. Customers scrutinize solution specs, support documentation, vendor reputation, ecosystem compatibility, and implementation complexity. The purchase decision comes only after this intensive scrutiny, and it often involves multiple decision makers in a company. Finally, the post-purchase evaluation can make or break long-term loyalty. If the solution fails to deliver immediate or measurable results, adoption drops, and the customer may churn. Worse, in tight communities like IT or engineering, bad word of mouth spreads fast. That's why this model is just a starting point. We'll soon see how external factors complicate it further. Now let's talk about what actually drives decisions in high-tech purchases. Beyond the traditional 5 stages, customer behavior is heavily shaped by 3 overlapping domains: human factors, business factors, and technology factors. Human factors refer to how users interact with a product. Is it intuitive? Does it reduce frustration? Even the most powerful software can fail if users find it hard to navigate. User experience is paramount, especially for non-technical users. Business factors involve the strategic and financial aspects. Will this solution lower costs, improve customer satisfaction, or enable competitive advantage? How fast is the ROI? Who needs to sign off internally? Then we have technology factors. This includes integration with current systems, data compatibility, cloud readiness, and cybersecurity compliance. Even something as simple as API documentation can be a deal breaker. This is where design thinking becomes essential. By using empathy, experimentation, and iteration, businesses can co-create solutions that meet real needs. Design thinking helps close the gap between what engineers build and what customers actually want and can use confidently. To truly understand high-tech customers, we need to explore how they adopt new innovations. Everett Rogers' diffusion of innovation model classifies customers into 5 segments. Innovators. These are the tech-savvy pioneers. They love new technology and don't mind testing rough versions. Early adopters, visionaries who see the potential of a product and are willing to take calculated risks to gain strategic advantage. Early majority, pragmatic buyers who want proven solutions. Late majority, skeptics who adopt only when everyone else already has. Laggards, the traditionalists who resist change until it's absolutely necessary. Understanding this adoption curve helps marketers design better messaging and support for each group. Innovators love raw features. Early adopters care about strategic fit. Early majority needs social proof and references. As we'll see shortly, the most difficult leap in this curve is between early adopters and early majority. This is the chasm, and it's where many startups fail. A common question startups face is, should we target innovators who are easy to reach but not representative of the mass market, or go straight to the majority who need more convincing but offer larger revenue? The reality is that you must first win the innovators and early adopters, because they are your testers, evangelists, and early case studies. But if you stay in that early market too long, you risk being stuck in a niche. Your goal should be crossing into the mainstream where the early majority lives. But this isn't easy. The early majority doesn't care about potential. They care about reliability. They want to know, has it worked for others like me? They expect case studies, references, industry compliance, and clear onboarding paths. So while your messaging to innovators might be cutting edge, your messaging to pragmatists must be tried, tested, and trusted. We'll now move on to explore how exactly to bridge that gap. also known as crossing the chasm. Now, let's talk about one of the most well known and feared concepts in tech marketing, the chasm. Coined by Geoffrey Moore, this concept refers to the gap between the early adopters and the early majority in the diffusion curve. It might look like a smooth continuum on paper, but in reality, there's a massive psychological and behavioral difference between these two groups. Early adopters are visionaries. They are comfortable with uncertainty and are often motivated by transformation. They believe in future value and are often willing to put up with technical glitches, incomplete features, or immature service just to be ahead. In contrast, the early majority are pragmatists. They want stability, proven results, and references from other users in their field. They want support, training, documentation, and assurances that they're making a safe investment. The chasm exists because these two groups have different definitions of value. Visionaries value potential, pragmatists value proof. If you fail to address the concerns of the early majority, you won't scale your product beyond the early market. Many promising startups die in the chasm, not due to technology failure, but due to poor strategy in adapting to this transition. The rest of this lecture is about how to safely and strategically cross this gap. Understanding the difference between visionaries and pragmatists is vital for any high-tech marketing plan. Visionaries tend to be creative, forward-thinking leaders. They want breakthrough results. They often push boundaries and are excited to try revolutionary solutions. When you sell to visionaries, you're selling a bold future. They don't mind if the product is rough around the edges, as long as it promises transformation. On the other hand, pragmatists are conservative, risk-averse professionals who want incremental, proven improvements. They often operate in more structured environments like government agencies or corporate IT departments. Their concerns center around security, scalability, integration, and long-term support. Here's the trap many companies fall into. They design and market their product for visionaries, but assume it will automatically appeal to pragmatists. That almost never happens. Visionaries are happy to work with your engineers. Pragmatists want a complete, polished solution with no surprises. To sell to pragmatists, you must shift your language from what's possible to what works. You must back your claims with data, testimonials, and use cases. It's not about innovation anymore. It's about reliability and risk reduction. Let's explore early market strategies, particularly for marketing to visionaries. Visionaries are often the first buyers of innovative technology, and they're not afraid to be first. However, they're also selective. They're not looking for slight improvements. They're looking for game changers. They want to differentiate themselves from their competitors through technology. To attract visionaries, your messaging should focus on radical benefits, strategic advantages, and market disruption. You should speak the language of possibility, not practicality. Demonstrate how your product challenges the status quo and can lead to dramatic outcomes. Visionaries love the idea of being industry leaders and early movers. Be ready for co-creation. Visionaries might want to customize your product, influence your roadmap, or request features that don't exist yet. This can be a great opportunity to build a solution that aligns closely with your market's needs. But keep in mind, what pleases a visionary might not scale to the mainstream. Use this phase to collect feedback, refine your product, and prepare for the next phase, targeting pragmatists. Now we get to the heart of Moore's strategy, crossing the chasm. This means transitioning your marketing and product focus from early adopters to the early majority. To do this, you need to change your approach completely. What works for visionaries doesn't work for pragmatists. The first major step is choosing a beachhead market, a single focused segment where your product can deliver overwhelming value. This market should have a pressing need that your product solves better than anyone else. Think of it like storming a beach in battle. You don't try to conquer everything at once. You win one area decisively and use that victory to expand. You'll also need to develop the whole product solution. This means not just your core product, but all the surrounding services, onboarding, training, integration support, SLAs, documentation, and customer success. Pragmatists expect a product that works out of the box and meets industry standards. You also need references. Pragmatists are influenced by what others in their peer group are doing. They won't trust you until someone they trust already has. This is why the beachhead strategy is so important. Once you win one tightly knit segment, you can expand outward through word of mouth and case studies. Let's go deeper into the concept of a beachhead market. A beachhead is a small, tightly focused customer segment that is ideal for launching your product into the mainstream. Think of it as your wedge into the larger market. It should be significant enough to generate revenue and visible enough to earn credibility. The best beachhead markets are those where your strengths directly align with a customer's most urgent needs. You want to find a group where the problem is so painful that customers are desperate for a solution. and where your product solves that problem better than any alternative. Take LinkedIn as an example. Their beachhead market was recruiters. Recruiters had a natural need to connect with professionals. By building a tool that solved their problem, LinkedIn was able to attract an adjacent segment, job seekers. Once that group was engaged, they drew in executives and so on. The expansion was organic and based on adjacencies, neighboring customer groups with shared needs. This is the foundation of crossing the chasm. You start small but win big. If your beachhead market is too broad or your value proposition too vague, you'll miss the mark. Focus, dominate, and then expand. Let's now explore the characteristics of a strong beachhead market, because choosing the right one can be the difference between breaking into the mainstream or falling back into obscurity. First, a good beachhead market should offer a compelling reason for customers to buy. Urgency matters. If customers are interested but not desperate, you may struggle to gain traction. Second, this market must align with your company's core capabilities. You don't want to stretch your resources trying to serve a market with demands that are misaligned with what your product or team can actually deliver. Third, a good beachhead market gives you adjacencies, logical pathways to expand into neighboring segments. For example, solving a problem for freelance graphic designers might open doors to marketing agencies and then corporate branding departments. Let's take the LinkedIn example again. They started with recruiters who had a pressing need and naturally pulled in other related groups like job seekers, executives, and then whole professional networks. This organic spread is crucial. Lastly, consider the structure of the market. Are customers reachable? Is there an influencer network? Will early wins lead to word of mouth adoption? These are all signs you're looking at a viable beachhead. Go deep, not wide. Serve this group flawlessly before moving on. Once you've identified a beachhead, your next goal is to capture it quickly and let word of mouth fuel your growth. Word of mouth is most powerful when there's a natural communication bridge between adjacent market segments. In other words, people in your beachhead talk to people in the next segment. That's how momentum builds. But while this focused approach is powerful, it also comes with risks. One major risk is being outflanked by competitors. If you spend too long in one niche, competitors might sneak into adjacent markets before you do. Another risk is spreading yourself too thin. Trying to target too many segments at once without enough resources can lead to diluted messaging, poor customer service, and ultimately failure in all segments. So what's the balance? Start focused, but build for scale. Plan your expansion routes early, identify your adjacent markets, and ensure your product design, partnerships, and customer experience are transferable across segments. Also, monitor your competitors, not out of fear, but to ensure your timeline to expand is competitive. Remember, a beachhead is not your final market. It's your launching pad. Get in, dominate, deliver real value, and then grow. Now we shift our focus to one of the most important concepts in crossing the chasm, the whole product. The whole product is not just your core offering, it's everything that surrounds it to make it complete from the customer's perspective. For a pragmatist buyer, a core product isn't enough. They want a complete end-to-end solution. That means clear onboarding, integration support, training, documentation, reliable customer service, and possibly third-party integrations. If the product doesn't come fully ready to use, it increases risk. And remember, pragmatists are risk averse. The whole product must be defined within the context of your target market. What a healthcare buyer needs is different from what a financial services buyer expects. Tailor the complete experience to your beachhead segment. Also, look at adjacencies through the lens of whole product needs. If the neighboring market segment has similar requirements, expansion is easier. If their needs are too different, you might need a new whole product strategy. Think of it this way. Innovators are fine using beta versions. Pragmatists want everything polished, documented, and guaranteed. If you don't deliver the whole product, they won't buy, even if the core technology is brilliant. Continuing with the whole product strategy, let's talk about partnerships. In many cases, you don't have to build every part of the whole product yourself. You can leverage partners to fill in the gaps. For example, you might offer core software, but a partner provides integration services. Or your product may require hardware and a third party offers the compatible equipment. By forming strategic partnerships, you can offer a complete solution faster and more efficiently. Partnerships are particularly useful during the chasm crossing phase, where pragmatists expect an all-in-one solution, but you may not have all the internal capabilities yet. But partnerships also come with risks. The biggest is the issue of power and control. Who owns the customer relationship? What happens if the partner service fails? Is there brand alignment? In the early market, visionaries tolerate this ambiguity. But in the mainstream market, pragmatists expect clear accountability. If something goes wrong, they want to know who to call and who is ultimately responsible. So while partnerships can help you scale and round out the whole product, choose wisely. Ensure that every partner enhances your reputation, not puts it at risk. Make sure their incentives align with yours. Let's now look at how the role of the vendor changes across different adoption stages and how power dynamics shift as the product matures. In the early market, the power lies with technology providers, innovators, and visionaries are looking for cutting edge solutions, and they'll work directly with your product team. They're willing to adapt to your roadmap. As long as the technology is promising, you can lead the conversation. But once you reach the chasm, everything changes. Now, the power begins to shift to the company with the best beachhead and the most robust whole product strategy. If you've identified the right segment and solved their problem completely, you're in a strong position to scale. In the pragmatist phase, market leadership and partnerships become crucial. The market begins to expect not just a good product, but industry standards, certifications, and ecosystem leadership. If your brand is seen as the safe choice, the one with integration support, reference customers, and a solid roadmap, you gain an edge. So your role evolves from a passionate innovator to a trusted problem solver to a market leader. Each stage requires a different mindset and different operational priorities. And remember, success in the early market doesn't guarantee success in the mainstream unless you adapt. Once you've developed the whole product and identified your beachhead, what else can you do to ensure your business survives the chasm? Beyond product features, this phase is about building trust, reducing risk, and growing revenue strategically. Let's walk through some complementary strategies. First, establish your reputation as early as possible. Leverage early adopters to secure testimonials, case studies, and endorsements. If you already have a foothold, shift your focus to delivering exceptional service. Every success story you generate in the beachhead segment becomes a weapon in your arsenal when selling to the early majority. Next, pragmatists care deeply about industry standards. If you want to win their confidence, you need to speak their language, get certified, align with regulations, and ensure compatibility with other systems. This is where the early majority starts comparing your solution to competitors. So competitive positioning becomes critical. Also, the market now expects simplicity. While visionaries may enjoy customizing a complex platform, pragmatists want plug and play. Aim to deliver a simplified, polished solution, one that minimizes learning curves and surprises. Lastly, focus on superb customer service. This isn't just about solving issues, it's about guiding customers, training them, and ensuring adoption success. If you can become a trusted partner instead of just a vendor, you'll make the jump to mainstream success much smoother. After successfully crossing the chasm, you enter what Moore calls the bowling alley, a phase of growth through niche market dominance. Think of each niche market as a bowling pin. Your task is to hit one pin, your beachhead, and then knock over adjacent ones through logical expansion. During this phase, you're no longer just testing your product, you're proving your ability to scale across segments. You're leveraging the success of one customer group to convince the next. Let's say you started by serving accounting firms. Next, you might go after financial planners, then enterprise CFO offices, then mid-sized consultancies. Each step shares a similar set of needs, which means your whole product strategy only needs slight adaptation. The key to this phase is repeatability. You want to be able to say, what we did for this group, we can now do for that group. And with each successful role, your product gains credibility and adoption increases. The danger here, if you try to jump too many pins or shift into unrelated markets too early, you'll dilute your value proposition. Stay focused, expand with intention. The bowling alley is where you establish a solid market foundation before entering the chaotic growth of the tornado. Once you've knocked down a few pins, you might hit the tornado, a period of explosive, often overwhelming growth driven by mass market adoption. The product is no longer a new idea, it becomes a necessity in the market. And that changes everything. The tornado is often triggered by a killer application, a use case that's so compelling that it pulls in a wide range of users all at once. Think about how Slack exploded in team collaboration, or how Zoom became the default during the pandemic. The growth isn't driven by clever marketing anymore. It's driven by real, visible, undeniable value. But the tornado comes with its own challenges. Now, your focus must shift to operational excellence. Can you meet demand? Can you scale infrastructure, supply chains, customer support? Can your internal systems handle 5x or 10x the load? Customer service now needs to become proactive, not reactive. Your onboarding must be efficient and automated. Your team must be coordinated across sales, implementation, and support. One misstep in this phase, such as failing to deliver to a major client, can slow momentum or invite competitors. In short, while the early market rewards innovation, the tornado rewards execution. If you can't keep up, someone else will. Eventually, the tornado slows and the market stabilizes into what we call Main Street. You've gone from disruptive newcomer to established vendor. Now, the focus is no longer adoption. It's about sustained growth, profitability, and customer retention. On Main Street, your primary customers are no longer innovators or early adopters. They're everyday users. Their needs are different. They expect reliability, familiarity, and efficiencies. So how do you grow in a saturated, mature market? You begin by focusing on cross-selling and upgrading existing customers. Offer add-ons, integrations, premium features, or related services. You're no longer just selling a product, you're expanding a platform. This is also the time to build long term relationships with your customers, understand their business, and evolve with them. Your organization must also shift its structure to support long term health. Marketing becomes more about brand management and customer loyalty. Operations must become more lean and efficient. And you'll need to monitor your customer satisfaction metrics religiously because retaining customers is cheaper than acquiring new ones. Main Street is where legacy companies are built, but only if they keep listening, adapting, and staying close to their customers. Let's now talk about what the market looks like after the tornado. By this point, the market has chosen its leaders and the competitive landscape becomes clear. In Moore's terms, you'll typically find gorillas, chimps, and monkeys. The gorilla is the dominant vendor, the one with the largest market share, strongest brand recognition, and greatest customer trust. Gorillas control the ecosystem. If you reach this level, you benefit from network effects, better partner deals, and strong pricing power. Then we have the chimps, the number two and number three competitors. They're solid players with decent offerings, often competing on specific strengths like customization, service quality, or niche adaptations. So they don't control the market, but they survive and grow. The rest are monkeys, niche players, often local or specialized. They struggle to grow, may lack resources, and usually survive only by serving very specific needs or low price segments. Your position in this hierarchy influences everything from investment decisions to marketing budgets to partner interest. If you're the gorilla, your job is to protect and expand your dominance. If you're a chimp, you focus on differentiation and strategic wins. And if you're a monkey, you need to decide whether to specialize further, pivot, or prepare for acquisition. The post tornado phase isn't the end, it's the beginning of the long game, how to stay relevant as the market matures.